Hi, I'm Chloe. Thank you for visiting our video. Find out why our team can provide you the best services for your needs. Hundreds of clients can't be wrong. Check out the following video.
Real Estate with Realtor Kashif Sohail. Welcome to Washington, America show with international multimedia journalist, multidimensional, multifaceted artist and director of Human Rights Justice Council USA, Dr. Kashif Sohail.
Federal laws have attempted to ensure that all American citizens have an equal and fair opportunity to obtain housing. The Civil Rights Act of 1866, the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968, and the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 are important. In essence, these laws prohibit housing-related discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and nationality. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, administers federal fair housing laws, and both HUD and the Department of Justice enforce federal fair housing laws. Most states have independent fair housing laws, patterned somewhat after federal laws. State laws cannot conflict with federal laws by being more lenient, or by authorizing fewer protections. But, state laws may impose stricter requirements, or authorize greater protections than federal law. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 prohibits any form of discrimination based on race that restricts the right to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was incorporated into the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. As a federal law, and then a constitutional amendment, only federal courts have jurisdiction to enforce it.
The Civil Rights Act of 1866 prohibits any form of discrimination based on race that restricts the right to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was incorporated into the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. As a federal law, and then a constitutional amendment, only federal courts have jurisdiction to enforce it. The 1988 amendments to the Fair Housing Act increased penalties for violators, established an administrative enforcement mechanism, and expanded protections to persons that are handicapped and for familial status. Fair housing laws are easily analyzed by determining, when the Fair Housing Act applies, what exemptions apply, if any, and what is prohibited. Protected classes are race, color, religion, national origin, gender. Race, among other protected classes. Fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on one's race, such as Caucasian, African American, and Latino. Color, among other protected classes. Fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on the color of one's skin. Religion, among other protected classes. Fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on one's religion, such as Islam, Christianity, and Buddhist.
National origin, among other protected classes, fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on one's national origin, such as Chinese, German, or Brazilian. Gender, among other protected classes, fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on one's gender, such as male or female.
The Americans with Disabilities Act gives civil rights protections to individuals with disabilities that are like those provided to individuals on the basis of race, sex, national origin, and religion. It guarantees equal opportunity for individuals with disabilities in employment, public accommodations, transportation, state and local government services, and telecommunications. Familial status, among other protected classes, fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on one's familial status. Essentially, this prohibits discrimination against families with children. For the real estate professional, this means that properties or neighborhoods cannot be marketed or sold as child-free communities unless an exemption applies.
Familial status means one or more individuals who have not attained the age of 18 years who are domiciled with 1. A parent or another person having legal custody, or 2. The designee of such parent or other person having custody, with the written permission of a parent or other person. The term also includes any person who is pregnant or in the process of securing legal custody of any individual who has not attained the age of 18. Familial status is only applicable if at least one member is under 18 or pregnant, or has applied for custody of a minor. Family includes a single individual, whether male or female. For example, seller agrees to sell to buyers beyond the condition that they presently have no children and do not plan to have any in the future. That condition violates the familial status protection under the Fair Housing Act and is unenforceable. This condition is void, but if valid, the rest of the contract would be enforceable. If it turns out that the buyers actually have children, they may ignore the condition and enforce the underlying contract. The Fair Housing Act protects persons with a handicap. The term handicap includes those with a disability. The legal definition of a disability requires that a person have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. Courts have interpreted this phrase to include not only outward physical impairments, but also less visible diseases like cancer and alcoholism.
Disability does not include illegal drug use. Mental impairments are also protected handicaps. Elderliness, among other protected classes, the Fair Housing Act also prohibits discrimination based on one's age. The Federal Act recognizes no such class. Elderliness is defined as an individual who has reached the age of 55 or older. The Fair Housing Act permits otherwise discriminatory behavior in some limited circumstances. This is accomplished through recognized exemptions. Racial discrimination is never exempted, and some exemptions are not available when there is a real estate agent involved in the transaction.
Private individual owners of single-family housing are exempt from the non-racial protections of the Fair Housing Act, provided they 1. Do not own more than 3 single-family houses at any one time, 2. Do not sell more than one single-family house in any 2-year period, 3. Do not employ a real estate agent, and 4. Do not use discriminatory advertising.
Owners who occupy their homes but sell or rent rooms or units are exempt from the non-racial aspects of the Fair Housing Act provided their home contains 4 or fewer units. The owner must actually maintain one of the units as his legal residence. This is intended to exempt small rooming houses, people who take in boarders to make ends meet, and duplexes. Individuals in these situations are usually supplementing their income and not running a business. Religious organizations may restrict dwellings they own to members of the same religion. However, the religious organization must be non-profit and cannot discriminate on race, color, sex, or nationality. Private membership clubs that are not open to the public may restrict lodging in their own facilities to members only, provided they are non-profit clubs.
Housing for the elderly is exempt from the familial status protection if it falls into either one of the following 2 categories. Housing that requires all of its residents, excluding employees, to be 62 years of age or older, or housing that requires at least one person per unit to be 55 years of age or older, and 80% of all units are so occupied. In order to qualify for this exemption, the housing must also provide services specifically designed to meet the needs of older people, such as common dining halls, bus service, and recreational facilities, and the landlord must rent any units that become available only to those who qualify under this exemption. The Fair Housing Act does not prevent states from reasonably restricting the maximum number of people permitted to occupy a dwelling. For example, you own an apartment house in Peaceful Retreat, Virginia. The dwelling contains 6 one-bath and 2-bedroom units. You do not like children and do not want to rent to families with children. However, you do not qualify for either of the all-elderly housing exemptions, so you may not discriminate against families. But because Peaceful Retreat has an ordinance that limits apartment occupancy to 4 people per bathroom, it will not be discrimination if you refuse to rent to a family of 5. The Fair Housing Act does not require that a dwelling be made available to an otherwise protected individual whose occupancy of the dwelling would constitute a direct threat to the health or safety of others, or whose occupancy of the dwelling would result in substantial physical damage to the property of others.
So, since you've learned more about us, click the link in the description to see how you can contact us.
Please share this video, subscribe to our channel.
Are you looking to buy or sell a home anytime soon? If so, you've come to the right place. We'd like to give you the opportunity to work with one of the top local real estate agents and get the best deal when buying or selling a home. The fact is, experienced agents can often get you a 2 to 10% better deal on the purchase or sale of a property, mostly due to their experience in the local marketplace and their ability to negotiate the best deal. So contact our top agent now and start the process of buying or selling your home.